Queen Elizabeth, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle's Commonwealth Trust support Black Lives Matter as a 2012 video of Meghan talking about racism resurfaces.
And so some of the slurs that I've heard, the really offensive jokes, or the names, it's just hit me in a really strong way.
Kensington Palace is looking to take legal action against Tatler magazine as Prince William uses his love for football to talk about mental health.
It's weird because I've always loved football, but I've loved football more now than I've ever loved it before. And I don't know what it is, whether it's because I'm a parent now and I need football more in my life. I don't know, maybe it is that.
Plus, former Royal Protection Officer Simon Morgan talks to us about what security will look like for Harry and Meghan in LA as they call police over drone issues.
You know, it would be very easy just to say, don't ever go out, don't ever speak to anyone, and we'll put you behind the wire and we'll protect you. That's not how people kind of wish to live. So, you know, the work is always, I think, on the protection team.
We've got that plus so much more in today's Royally Us. Hello to our fellow royal lovers and welcome to Royally Us. I'm Christina, that's Carly, senior reporter for HuffPost and royal commentator. Hi, Carly.
Hi, Christina. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well in such a turmoil time, I guess. You know, but we have a lot of important topics that we need to cover this week, and we're going to get to them, and we're going to cover them. But of course, we want to highlight our viewers before we get to that, because we've got a ton of great comments, as always, from our royal watchers. From last week, they got a lot of people talking. So let's kick it off with Sophia. She says, it was an article that Kate and William were originally in favor of. They are good friends with the editor and have been on holiday with him. So if the magazine are saying the palace is in fact lying by saying they didn't know about the story, then it's probably true, because why would Tatler, a very posh magazine that lives posh people, fight back? Of course, this is all about the Tatler magazine cover story that covered Duchess Kate, who said that she was overwhelmed with her workload.
Mm-hmm. And I do think there's a good relationship between the royals and Tatler magazine normally. And I think while there might have been initial cooperation with this article, the fact that Kensington Palace said, you know, there's so many inaccuracies and misrepresentations that we didn't see before this article was published, and the threat of legal action, it shows that this definitely wasn't the article that they expected.
Yeah, definitely not. Okay, moving on to Madeline. She says, how quickly the royals came to defend Kate's character. I wonder why they didn't do the same for Meghan when she was attacked, slandered, and ripped apart by the UK press almost on a daily basis. The hypocrisy is not lost. I have nothing against William and Kate, but I do hate that the royal family just ignore the hell that the UK press was creating for the new member of the royal family. Of course, Meghan.
Yeah, I do agree with the hypocrisy. You know, Kensington Palace did issue a statement when Harry and Meghan first began dating saying, you know, please stop with this racist and sexist commentary. But it seems that when Kate and the family had a problem with this article, there was a statement, you know, immediately within hours, which is rare for the palace. So I definitely get the hypocrisy in that it seems the palace is sticking up for one person and failed to do so for Harry and Meghan.
Right. I mean, who knows? Maybe they're learning from past mistakes, what they made with Meghan, and now they're kind of, you know, because it seems like a very quick response. But like you said, you can't ignore that they didn't say anything about Meghan, and now we're saying.
Right.
Okay, moving on to Posse. They say, could you just use her title, please? Not Duchess Kate, Princess Kate, or Kate Middleton. And if you really have to use something, use her real name, please. She hasn't been Kate since her wedding day. I have had enough of this same thing.
Whew, yes. I get this all the time with Kate Middleton and with Meghan Markle, because I'm, you know, speaking for HuffPost here, but we cover them in the US more as celebrities than we do royals, because we're not a part of the Commonwealth. So while I'll sometimes refer to both of them as the Duchess of Cambridge or the Duchess of Sussex, it's just so much easier to say Kate Middleton and
Right.
Meghan Markle. And it once again speaks to our coverage of them, celebrities. We don't really, you know, we don't say Her Majesty for Queen Elizabeth, but
Right.
it's fun to work into a tweet or two sometimes.
It definitely is. It definitely is. But they are probably the biggest celebrities that we cover. So
100%, yes. But I can't say Catherine Middleton. I can't spell it with a C. It will just never come out of my mouth except
it just doesn't feel right to us. Okay, let's move on to our royal news of the week. And we are kicking things off with a story that has not only gripped the nation, but the world, and that is the demand for justice for George Floyd and support of Black Lives Matter. Now, lending their support was Queen Elizabeth, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle. They all did this together. So, Carly, how did they lend their support?
Yes, so right now the royal patronages have issued statements in regard to, like you said, justice for George Floyd and the protests that have really gripped the nation. So the Queen's Commonwealth Trust, of which Queen Elizabeth is a patron, Harry is president, and Meghan is vice president, released a statement saying, we can no longer be silent. We have to have uncomfortable conversations with people right now. Black Lives Matter. There's so much that, we as white people have to unlearn, and we just, we have to speak up. There's no excuse. They also provided tips for people who wanted to figure out where to donate right now or how to protest safely amid the pandemic. And I spoke with the Queen's Commonwealth Trust, and right now they said that there isn't direct involvement from the royals because they're independent when it comes to, the content that they publish and everything. We have seen another, charity speak up, the Diana Award, which also said, Black Lives Matter, we cannot be silent anymore.
It's great that they're lending their support and tools for people to get involved and get educated. Now, this support comes as a video of Meghan actually talking about racism resurfaced. Now, she shot this back in 2012, and we have a brief clip of it, so take a look.
So I think for me, beyond being personally affected by racism, just to see the landscape of what our country is like right now, certainly the world, and to want things to be better.
So where was this video from? Who was it for? What do we know about this video?
Yeah, so Meghan was still a member of the Suits cast at this time. This was in 2012 for the charity Erase the Hate. And it was a campaign called I Won't Stand For. And Meghan wore a shirt saying, I won't stand for racism. And she talked about being biracial. She has a Black mother and a white father. And she said that because she's biracial, she's lived most of her life as a fly on the wall. She said that because some people don't know what she's mixed with, that people still say slurs around her, say really horrible and offensive jokes. She talked about how racism has personally affected her life and said that she's even heard people call her mom, Doria Ragland, the N-word. And I think this just shows Meghan speaks up about the things that are important to her. And, I wonder if in the coming days we'll see a statement from her and Prince Harry about George Floyd and police brutality.
I feel like we will.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's, super important to her. And, I'm sure that they wish they had their social media platforms at this moment to kind of speak out and help people and educate people. Because, as we see from this video, racism is something that she has dealt with for most of her life as well.
I agree. And, Harry and Meghan have alluded to stepping back because of the racist and sexist coverage that they've faced before. They've both spoken out about it. Prince Harry has issued a fiery statement about it. He's, also talked about the need for racial equality in Vogue. So I definitely think we'll see something in the coming days.
Right. I mean, if you remember back from their engagement interview, she talked about how she was, that people were making racist comments to her when she started dating Harry, and this is something that really bothered her, as it would. How could it not?
Right. As you said, it's something that she's dealt with her entire life. She's seen, with her mom, and, she and Harry have a child who is Black. So this is extremely important to their family. And we know that since they don't have a social media platform, they've done most of or released a lot of statements through Zoom calls with their charities. So I've reached out to a few charities to see if they're putting out their own statements, like the Diana Award and the Queen's Commonwealth Trust. So I expect that when Meghan and Harry release a statement, it'll be through something like that.
Oh, definitely. And we will keep you updated when they do. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit, because last week we mentioned, and we talked a little bit about it before, about the Tatler magazine article. They wrote a cover story about Duchess Kate, and Kensington Palace slammed it, saying it was false, and now they may take some legal action, right?
Yes, and things are published in a different way in the UK compared to how they're published here. They run things by the palace typically, so if there is cooperation from Kate Middleton, they would likely see the article before, be able to see what's going to be published about them. And it just seems like that didn't happen. It seems like they used to have a really good relationship, but, like we've said, because they're taking legal action, it shows that they are really, really unhappy and willing to sever ties with this publication.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, like we said, they had a good relationship with this magazine for a while. I mean, Tatler came out saying that the palace was fully aware that this article was happening. I don't know. So, what are people saying online about this article?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying, people who support Meghan are saying, now we're seeing Kate's true colors. We're seeing these friends from Kate talk about, or like say what Kate really feels. Mm-hmm. And I guess what I would say to that is, it doesn't put Kate in a good light in this article. So it honestly doesn't seem like her friends had, her best interest in there, because some of the quotes in there saying that Kate and William are overloaded with work, that Meghan and Harry leaving means that they can't be good parents now. That's just not something that's even subtle. It's really, really going for it. And it talked about Kate's weight so much. People were talking about how sexist the article was, saying that she's suffering just like Princess Diana. It painted Kate's mother, Carol, basically as crazy. And it even alluded to William's alleged affair with one of their friends. So I can't see the palace signing off on.
No, I'd just be like, run that to the press.
Right.
Not a good look. All right, let's move on to William, because he made a powerful statement in his new mental health documentary. So take a look.
I think if we can get some of this male masculinity re-diagnosed, that would be fantastic, rather than the big, guy, I'm all strong, I'm all, I don't talk about stuff and I'm just hard. Well, that's great. You can still do that, but let's talk about stuff that's going on as well, like real stuff.
So as we said before, this mixes football, mental health, kind of puts it all together and created a really powerful documentary. So what did we learn?
So it's addressing the stigma of men talking about their own mental health. And as we mentioned last week, William said that when he became a parent, it brought up the emotions of his mom, Princess Diana, dying. He spoke about football with Prince George and how he likes to cheer at some of the games. And he also mentioned that he has a trick for fighting anxiety when he goes to all of these royal engagements. William's trick is, as his eyesight was getting bad as he got older, he wouldn't wear contacts to certain events. So while he could look at his speech and read off what he was supposed to say, he said that he couldn't see anyone in the crowd, which actually helped him deal with his fear.
I love that. That is a good tip.
Yes. I don't think it's something that people normally replicate, but right. It was interesting. Yeah, it was interesting seeing it, portrayed as a tip that we can all use. I mean, I wear contacts. I could probably do the same thing.
Right. Okay, let's talk about Queen Elizabeth. I love this story. She has been laying low amidst the pandemic, but she has been spending time at 94 riding her horses.
Oh, yes. The palace released some photos of her riding her 14-year-old fell pony named Fern, which is a great name for a horse. And I think this was, some people were questioning the timing of the photo op, which makes sense. People were saying, why do we need to see photos of the Queen riding a horse? But I think it's a really good way for people to see that the Queen's in good shape. She's doing well amid the pandemic. It's just another way to sort of put her in front of your screens and say, the monarch is doing well. She's healthy. We're all going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, she looks like she's having a great time. I mean, at 94, I hope at 94 I can get up on a horse.
I know. I just hope I can get off the couch some days. So I'm very impressed by her getting off the horse.
And she's in Windsor Castle, right, where she's self-isolating with Prince Philip.
She is. We have not seen Prince Philip. He retired from public life in 2017. He is actually celebrating his 99th birthday next week. Of course, they do not have anything major planned. I know, 99. I've heard that they're going to have a birthday lunch. So we'll have to see next week when we give you guys the update.
We will have all the details. Oh, I love that. 99. Good for that. All right, let's talk about Harry and Meghan, because while they are in LA, they are still doing their part and lending a helping hand. Take a look.
Please stay safe, be well. You're doing such amazing work, and thank you so much for being you and just being so kind and compassionate and caring to others.
Who did Harry speak with? Because he is busy doing these Zoom calls.
He really is. So Harry joined a Zoom call with 3 volunteers working at Street at the Heart, which is a part of the Street Games Network. It helps encourage well-being, families getting together, kids using sports in order to, boost their mental health and keep them out of trouble. And he was speaking with these 3 volunteers who were so amazing. And while everyone is struggling amid the pandemic, they're devoting their time to volunteer, bring food to people, do mentoring sessions with other people. It was really, really inspiring to see.
It really was. I love that. And do we have any updates on his other charities? The Invictus Games, anything like that?
Yes, we do. So this week, the Endeavor Funds, which Prince Harry helped co-fund in 2012 for veterans, actually broke off from the Royal Foundation, which, Harry and Meghan used to belong to, with Kate and William, and it joined the Invictus Games Foundation. So that was, a big move and a big break. And I think that when Harry and Meghan start their foundation, Archwell, we'll probably see it move, from the Invictus Games umbrella within the Archwell Foundation. So still have to wait for that announcement, but a lot of factors depend on that right now.
Oh, totally, definitely. And let's talk about Meghan, because she has been doing her own charity work, but she's been doing it in secret, right?
She has classic Meghan. I feel like she is always working behind the scenes, even on her maternity break. She was just guest editing Vogue. No. But Newsweek reached out to Mayhew, which is an international animal charity, and asked if the Duchess has been involved. They couldn't really share a lot of details, which makes me think we'll get an announcement from the Duchess soon. But they said that she was still calling, still working, and it also gave them an opportunity to say that right now the charity is really suffering. It takes about £8,000 a day to run the animal charity, and because of the pandemic, people aren't really donating, and it was a good opportunity for them to say, if you have the funds and can spare it, please help.
Yeah, and we know that animals are important. They have a couple animals of their own. She has a couple dogs, right?
They do. So Meghan's dog, she has a beagle named Guy, and then together they adopted a lab, and we don't know the name. We believe it's a girl, but hopefully in LA, from a safe distance, we get a few photos of the dogs, or they eventually share photos of their really cute pups on their new social media accounts.
So we need something to lift up our spirits a little bit. So we could use that social media account, right?
Exactly. More photos of Archie, more photos of the dogs. We would love it.
All right, let's continue to talk about Harry and Meghan, because we have to spill the royal tea, because we have a lot of gossip, because Harry's ex-girlfriend, Cressida Bonas, opened up about finding herself in the wake of their 2014 split. So what did she have to say?
She said that, since the split, she has grown confident, and she said she no longer sweats the small stuff. And, she's spoken a lot before about what it's like to be in the royal spotlight, to be hunted by paparazzi, to have your every move criticized. I mean, even still, she will always be linked to Prince Harry. But, she said that she's moving on, and, I'm sure just not having all the photographers follow you around really helps with that.
Oh, definitely. And it seems like they're on good terms. I mean, she was at his wedding.
He was at his wedding with a few other exes. So, yeah, I don't, you can't get friendlier than that, honestly.
Definitely not. So it seems like it was an amicable split and everybody is happy. And I think she's engaged, so I'm sure she's totally fine.
She is. She got engaged a year after Harry and Meghan got married, and she was actually trying to plan her wedding amid the pandemic. But as we all know, all plans are off. So I'm sure we will see Cressida and Harry's name once again once she actually does get married.
Totally. Forever linked. Okay, so let's talk about Harry and Meghan. As we know, they are living in LA. They have not escaped the paparazzi, and in fact, it seems like things may be actually getting even worse for them security-wise. What has happened?
So, they're living on sort of a semi-isolated property. There's a lot of land around them. So while you would think traditional paparazzi can't drive up or stake anything out, they are now facing drones flying over the property. There have been 5 incidents that they have reported to the LAPD, but I mean, I can't imagine anything more terrifying. You move there to escape the paparazzi, and now they're doing drive-bys.
Yeah, it's really scary. And we have reporting that they are scared, they are terrified. They've kind of beefed up their security as well, right?
Yes, they have. They've hired Tyler Perry's security guards or security team for right now. But they were saying that while they do think that it is the paparazzi, they also have to take these threats really seriously as basically terrorist threats, because Meghan received death threats prior to the wedding. So they have to be careful for the family. Apparently, a drone flew over while they were playing at the pool with Archie and playing with their dogs. So once again, their family's safety feels like it's in jeopardy.
Definitely. So we know that they're living at Tyler Perry's mansion right now. But I wonder now that people know where they're living, if they're going to try to move somewhere else. I mean, that probably makes the most sense.
Right, and they are still shopping for a house, and it seems like in Malibu they would kind of get a property like the one that they have with Tyler right now, where, you know, they don't need neighbors that are close by, they need a lot of land. Right now they are by some hiking trails, so when the trails open back up, they put up some security screens so people can't really see in. But I mean, if I was them, I would want a property with 50-foot walls or something.
Right.
So it'll be really interesting to see where they end up settling down and what sort of security they have.
But like, part of me wonders, like, why move to LA if you don't want the paparazzi? Like, stay in Canada, move to Oklahoma, you know?
Right. I mean, because if you're in any big city, LA, New York, especially, those are total paparazzi hotspots.
Yeah.
I remember 2 years ago when there were rumors that Harry and Meghan might move to Africa.
Right.
And sort of thinking then, if they move to Africa, if they move to Canada, honestly, because they're so famous, no matter where they go, I mean, paparazzi will set up a shop right outside of their house.
Yeah.
But yeah, LA especially is a hotspot. I've spoken to someone before who said Beyonce primarily lives in LA. She isn't really, you know, papped a lot. So if you want to, there are tunnels, there are underground exits, but God, what do you do when people are flying over? That's going to be really tough.
That is really tough. Well, to help us give us some more insight into how Harry and Meghan may be protecting themselves, let's bring in former Royal Protection Officer Simon Morgan to help us break down these royal rules. Let's talk about Harry and Meghan, because on a security protection level, were you surprised that they made the move to Los Angeles from Canada?
Yes and no. You know, yes, in so much it was a surprise because they were very much in a secure environment where they were. You know, they had kind of quite a regular routine and a footprint kind of there, and obviously various levels of support, albeit it kind of was withdrawn. But then, you know, to make the move to LA kind of puts you very much in the spotlight, you know, and it's the whole nature of that kind of environment is 24/7, is constant, you know. So I think, yeah, from a protection perspective, you know, it's not an ideal choice. But there again, you know, people want to lead their lives, and you as the protection team just have to work around that. You know, you're always mitigating the risks. It's just some risks are greater than others, and therefore the challenges are greater than others.
And now they are still royals. And do you think, based on their status, that they should be able to use the royal protection officers?
And that's where the emotive issue came, in so much as they're no longer a member of the royal family. They're not going to be ultimately part of the brand, and therefore they're not going to be able to support the brand, and that brand in turn isn't going to be able to bring anything into the UK. So that's where the emotive issue came to, and I think, you know, that was one that once the decision was made, it was kind of quite easy for the Home Office to kind of withdraw that protection.
Yeah, definitely. But now we're hearing that, you know, they're regularly being harassed by drones in their backyard. I mean, how do you even protect from something like that?
I mean, drones are now currently part of the changing landscape of protection, and it's something that you've got to be mindful of, and you've got to factor it into your protection package. And there's various mitigations kind of to deal with drones. Some of them are specific to countries and the legislation within that countries, but there are ways of dealing with drones. So it is just the new challenge that you kind of have to factor in, along with all the other things. And certainly you've got to be mindful of not adding something and therefore forgetting something that is already equally as important.
Yeah.
And I guess I really can't even think of any, but how would you deal with a drone on a property from a security perspective? How do you mitigate that risk?
Well, again, there are various mitigations, you know, from how you deal with the drone itself. A lot of them are line of sight, so you know you look to where somebody could take off in relation to a drone. You look at how that drone works with regards to its signals. Obviously, what you can't do is just effectively take it out of the air, because then it becomes a solid object in terminal velocity and it will fall to the ground. So you know that would then cause a safety issue. So there's various mitigations that are in place that allow that drone to effectively be stunned and kind of then go to the ground and be recovered by potentially the security team.
Now, it's been reported that they hired an A-list security team. It cost about $8,000 per day. So when you're spending that much money, what kind of services will you be getting, do you think?
Yes, you know, they have hired an A-lister security team, and what you get for your money depends on the caliber of that protection team, ultimately. So, you know, you would be expecting some form of personal protection. You'd be expecting some form of physical residential protection. You'd also have to factor in such things as kind of cyber to deal with your internet and things like that. You'll have your technical security, your alarms and your CCTV cameras. You also have to have an intelligence picture put into that as well. So, you know, £8,000 sounds a lot, or rather $8,000, sorry, sounds a lot. But, you know, you don't actually get all that much for your money when you're looking at an asset kind of like that. You know, if you put it into solely staff hours or individual hours, that really sounds a lot of money. But when you put it as a complete 24/7 secure package, then it doesn't really sound all that much money.
Mm-hmm. And I think, or I was wondering, when the royals are in London, or are they followed by people 24/7, and would Harry and Meghan have that same sort of 24/7 coverage still in California?
So yes, some things would be the same and other things wouldn't be the same. You know, as we've discussed before, the threat isn't going to go away. So that's going to remain kind of quite constant. And as I've said before, in fact, when this first started, the actual interest from members of the public and the interest from the media will be most probably higher than it was before. Because once you withdraw from something, people naturally want to know what you're doing. What are they up to? Yeah. You know, and certainly where there's a young child involved, people want to know how that child is growing up and changing. So, you know, it's actually created potential issues more so than they've actually kind of solved, because certainly here in the UK, I think there's a great deal of respect for the royal family. There's a great deal of respect for their privacy, you know, from the ordinary man in the street. And certainly with the media, there are various laws, conventions and policies in relation to taking pictures of the royal family and how they achieve that. And it's certainly quite a two-way street here, and it's something that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge do very well with regards to the media. You know, they give them a certain amount of access, and then the media effectively leave them alone for their private time. I don't think that kind of mindset is something that's kind of prevalent kind of in the US. I think it's something people want access. There's a desire for access. There's a desire for knowledge, and kind of people want to know what they're up to. So, you know, it is somewhat a difficult and different landscape to what they've been used to.
And just generally speaking, when Archie is old enough to go to school, it seems that he will have much more interest around him than even other celebrity kids. What sort of plan would you put in place for a kid that could get that much attention when he's at school? Would people guard him there or be in or outside of the building? What would that look like?
Well, again, you know, with regards to children, the Cambridge's children, the eldest two are in school, you know, and there is a security package around them, and it's a very well thought out package in relation to the school themselves and other parents, and obviously people, you have to get people to kind of buy into it with regards to that. And again, we come into my previous point of how respectful people are and how open kind of people are prepared to be. So, yes, there will be a package that will be put in place to protect Archie when he goes to school. What that package looks like, depending on where he goes to school, what other children, what the demographics of the other children are like there, what the current media interest is at that particular point as well. So, yes, you're still looking at a great grandson of the Queen. So, there is still a tremendous, what's the word I'm looking for? There's the connotations that go with that still exist, whether they're here in the UK kind of or the US, that doesn't change. And yes, certainly they will have to look at that. And, that in itself will be a big challenge because, you are looking at going out into the public domain. You are going out into the public domain on a regular basis. Certainly as a protection team, our biggest problems are arrivals and departures. We always have to leave somewhere and we always have to arrive somewhere. The bit in the middle we can control, but the other parts, a lot of thought process will have to go into that. There'll be a lot of various stakeholders who will have to buy into that. And also, most probably one of the biggest things, and sometimes this is most probably a fine balance between an educational establishment wanting the attention and not wanting the attention. As so they'll have to kind of maybe look at several different schools, because some schools will say, well, actually, we don't want that child here because it'll unsettle the other children, or there'll be anguish from other parents because that may increase the security risk, etc. So that is it's a big thought process that goes into it.
A lot of big royal events have been canceled due to the pandemic, but Harry and Meghan were supposed to be coming over for Princess Beatrice's wedding, Trooping the Colour. When they do eventually come back for these big royal events, will they be taking now their own security team, or will they be using the royal security?
Now that I don't know, and I don't know whether that's been kind of agreed or not. Potentially will they kind of fall back into the hub of royalty protection for the time that they're here in the UK, as other visitors do to the UK. Will they bring their team over and they'll act in kind of isolation to that, or indeed will they be part of it? And their current team will come over and act in a potential liaison capacity because they now have all the day-to-day kind of knowledge. So I think that's most probably another bit of work in progress as to how that kind of actually looks, and indeed how they fit in with the rest of the royal family, and then indeed how that fits into the protection package that is afforded, certainly for those events such as Trooping the Colour, because that is a massive occasion of state. And it's something that happens every year. It happens pretty much on the same weekend every year, and you are putting the royal family very much out into the public, and the risk mitigation that goes with that is vast and constantly being evaluated and changing accordingly. And
before we wrap up, do you think that Meghan and Harry will ever get the privacy that they so wish to get?
Sadly, no. And I think a lot of it will depend on how they actually engage with people, both in terms of the ordinary person in the street, and the media, and how much access they allow with that. The more you withdraw, the more people want to know what you're up to. There just becomes that fascination. And like I said, with regards to Harry, he is still a senior member of the British royal family. Both in terms of kind of bloodline and position, albeit maybe not entitled at the moment. So therefore, there is still a fascination around that. Certainly with the Duchess, if she does go back to work in that particular sector, then there will always be an interest in what she's doing, because it will be part and parcel of the very nature of what she's doing. So like I said, people of wealth, visibility and status, the protection team has to allow them to live their normal lives, or live the life that they choose. You as the protection team have to mitigate all those risks to allow them to achieve that. It would be very easy just to say, don't ever go out, don't ever speak to anyone, and we'll put you behind the wire and we'll protect you. That's not how people kind of wish to live. So, the work is always, I think, on the protection team. The work is always on them to deliver a protection package that allows their principals to lead that lifestyle, you know. But like I said, ultimately you just have to mitigate the risks. You know, they can lead that lifestyle, but the protection team really have to bring their A game, and they have to mitigate all the risks that kind of go with it. So, you know, sadly, I think there will always be kind of an interest in the Sussexes, and that interest may kind of peak and trough as kind of time goes on. But I think the more that they are not in the public eye, the more people will want to know what they're up to, you know, and that creates its own monster within itself.
Definitely. Well, Simon, thank you so much, as always, for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's nice to talk to someone different.
Yeah. Well, it was wonderful. And for more information on Simon, head on over to his website, trojanconsultancy.co.uk. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you very much. Okay, speak to you both soon.
Let's move on to our royal history moment of the week, and this has to do with Prince Charles, who revealed a little known fact about how he influenced Prince William and Duchess Kate's wedding. I love this.
This is so cute. I also always love reading quotes from Prince Charles, just because the way he speaks is so incredibly posh. No one speaks like this.
That's so true.
But Prince Charles said that he absolutely loves picking out music for grand events, especially weddings, if people will let him. He said something like, it's always fun having an orchestra for grand occasions, which,
of course.
Yeah, I mean, if I could have an orchestra follow me around, I would, but it's just so something that only a prince would say.
Oh, 100%. I love having orchestras for my lunches.
Yeah, I wish, like, please just pop in. That'd be great.
Right. Do we know if he's chosen music for anybody else in his family?
Yes. So he, said that he chose part of the music for William and Kate's wedding, which was so great. Some of the songs were similar to the ones that he used for he and Camilla's 2005 nuptials. But people were so interested. We've never heard that, and their wedding was in 2011. So it's always nice to get, new little facts about our favorite wedding.
I love that. I love that he was very much involved in the wedding planning. I think that's great.
He was. Also, just Prince Charles doing a radio interview. I mean, that's why I find it so funny.
I do too. Classic radio too. It's great. Okay, so before we wrap up, of course, we have to check in on our pint-sized palace. And those royal kiddos are keeping us actually pretty busy, because we are finding out that Princess Charlotte might be homeschooled permanently, right?
Yes. So for right now, schools in London are opening up. That includes Charlotte and George's school, Thomas's Battersea. So the family right now, Kate, William, George, Charlotte, Louis, are all at Amner Hall, which is outside of London. And it's really not clear right now. The palace hasn't commented on whether or not the kids will be homeschooled or go back to school. It seems that in order to keep everyone together and to keep everyone safe, they're not going to send the kids back to school right now. In the fall, I think it could be a different story.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. Keep them home, keep them safe. I mean, they probably only have a few more weeks left until summer break. So.
Right. And Louis doesn't go to school, right. And there's some confusion over certain grades will go back, others won't. So if it was a matter of, only George going back, it wouldn't make sense to probably split up the family. Mm-hmm. And while we always like to say that royals are just like us, they aren't always, and they really want to be protected and be safe and set a good example for everyone with the pandemic. So while we know all about the Cambridge kids, you guys got some really great reporting about little Archie, right?
We did. We found out that he is saying his first few words. He's saying mama, which is pretty hard.
Right.
Dada, book. I know. I mean, that's really impressive. My daughter is a month older and can only say dada. So Archie is well on his way.
That is so cute. 3 words. I mean, I can't wait to hear, what else he starts saying.
I know. Like we said, they have to start posting some more videos and pictures of little Archie, because we could all use a smile these days.
Yeah, we could definitely use that. You're right. We all really need a smile and some bright news right now.
Yes. Well, we hope that all this royal news gave a smile to everybody out there, because we all deserve it. We all need it. Carly, thank you so much for breaking down everything royals with me, as always.
Thank you. So great to see you, Christina.
Too. For much more on your royal news, head on over to usmagazine.com and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep commenting. We'll see you guys next week.